Here we go. It's time for another sprint zone. This one's for 225, 2024. And it was a super windy day. And we had a crosswind coming off of our left hand shoulder, probably about 45 degrees. And it was like wicked strong. This is the part of the ride, which is supposed to be the warm up going up County Road 5. And there are only 6 of us. Got Rick behind me, and while 4 people are rotating up front. I would have liked to have been in rotation, but it was just too much for me. You can see my 30-second power during the warm up creeping up to 220. That's like ridiculous. It's like, and maybe it's because none of these people have ever been on the ride before. And maybe it's that they just don't know the format of what's supposed to happen. So now my 30-second power has creeped up to 246. And yep, I did calibrate my power meter, so I know it's right. And at this point, I just kind of let people go. My heart rate's pegged at 168. It's probably the new normal now after COVID, which I'm seeing it being maybe 7 beats higher during whatever effort. And we're just moseying along here. Eventually, this does calm down, but this kind of just burned me out. So let's just kind of fast forward a little bit, and we'll see. There is some sort of at this point, Daniel comes back, and he's like, going to help us out a little bit. Still my 30-second power into the 190s. People just are ramming and a thumping, and I'm on the gravel bike, and at this point, well, it pretty much sucked. But heading in, and now we're almost to the beginning of the sprint zone, and things have calmed down. This is the wattage I would have liked to have done sitting in, maybe on the way to the sprint zone to get some warm up. But it was not to be. That's okay. I mean, it's a good workout, but not what I expected. But definitely, it looks like Marcelo, Kent, Danny, and Daniel are really riding strong this year. Everybody's been eating their Wheaties or whatever. A little closer to the sprint zone here. Everybody's a little calmer. And maybe they just needed to get the openers into the mix there. Some people like their openers. I know Curtis does when he's around. Jensen, that is. He likes to work hard before the melee. I personally like to get some kind of warm-up in here. And I think this is my first Tuesday ride in probably a couple of months since vacation. So it's really like a shock to the legs to come out that hard that early. I was hoping that you get maybe 12 people out and I could sit back there and hide. But on this day, there was pretty much no hiding. And finally, we make it to Prospect. Everyone makes the right-hand turn for the most part. And what do we see here? Lethargy. It's like we went really, really hard during the warm-up, and now I'm doing 84 watts, my 30-second power. Just kind of sitting back, and I am not complaining. Now we got a wicked tailwind, and you can see, 20 miles an hour, with only 149 watts or so. Things starting to hot up. Marcelo's up the road here, and I'm going to bring him back. I'm thinking to myself, why am I on the gravel bike? Like, some of these people should be up here doing the work, but the only reason I'm up here is because I wanted to get some footage. I figure I'll be dropped, soon enough, and at least I'll have something to ramble on about for probably 12 minutes or so. But Kent looking strong in that new Envy, a fine bike. Marcelo up front, just moving hard up there, and now the wattage starts to creep up. Looks like my 30-second wattage into the 240s. It didn't feel like, at this point, it felt easier than going up County Road 5. And maybe that's because I was slightly warmed up now, and I got a little bit of respite for the maybe 40 seconds or a minute and 40 or so before I made the turn on the Prospect. But the guys behind me, no one is urgent here. It's just everyone's just kind of taking it easy, sitting in there, enjoying things. Kent smiling on that new Envy. Must be nice. Daniel standing up there a little bit, stretching the legs, letting Marcelo still do the work up front. And I'm sitting in getting good a good view, a good sideshow here. And we're getting close to the crest here. My water just starting to drop a little bit, and no one has any sense of urgency. I mean, we were going so much harder during the warm up. I'm like, what has happened here? Is this like some upside down universe or something? Or maybe when I was away, somebody changed the format of the ride and didn't tell me. In any case, with only a few of us, it would have behooved us to like work a little bit more together, at least to have a good contest here. And now you can see my wattage, average 150 or so, which is what you would expect if you were sitting way back there. Marcelo's been out there for a while, probably pushing a lot more than I am, and no one at this point is thinking about doing anything. Yeah, and I'm thinking that, well, we went so hard, everybody's pretty tired. So there's my 30-second wattage, like 170. And if you recall, my 30-second wattage was a lot higher during the warm-up portion here. Anyway, Marcelo's pushing hard, smoother stroke than I've seen in previous years this early in the season, so he's clearly been doing his homework. Daniel looking strong back there. Danny sitting in. Rick very comfortable being the tail gunner there as we make the corner. And this is probably a little over the 1 mile point, and Marcelo has been pulling for the entire time so far. Wattage creeps up a little bit, and no one is looking to take up the mantle. The pointy end of the stick is probably too much for most people, or they're just still trying to recover from the warm-up effort. And here we go. Finally, Daniel sees his opportunity, and everyone follows suit. I drop back, looking to get better draft, and that acceleration was a little more than I needed at this point. Rick looking strong there, getting some good draft, and he knows how to echelon. This is a good thing here. A lot of people would be like in a straight line, sucking up wind, but it's better to learn how to feel where the wind is coming from and utilize that to the best of your ability. And it's a nice day. And it's a tailwind. And my wattage has creeped up here. 30-second wattage, 250. Now we're talking in my heart rate. And this is like a new high for me, or pretty close to it. Like 176, for this kind of an effort here. I think a gift from the COVID. So we'll have to see if I'm able to throw down some watts later in the season as I get fitter. My VO2 max before the holidays and COVID was about 50. I just gotten it up there. And then here, after the COVID, it went down to 42 a couple of days ago. After a couple of Zwift efforts, I saw it go back up to 45. But I am nowhere near as fit as I should be. Good looking echelon here. Everybody lined up properly. Everybody letting Daniel do the work. And it's pretty sure that after that little display going up County Road 5, that if I had to pick the order of strength, it would be Daniel, Marcelo, Danny, and then Kent. No disrespect to anybody. And I'll throw Rick in there being stronger than myself. And I am bringing up the rear. And as we see, there is the American flag flying high. For a while there, this was flown upside down for some reason on some of the other days, but now it's the right side up. And here we are. So interesting here, like we should have been pulling off to the right here because it's an echelon. So I'm not certain why we've come off on the left-hand side, with the exception of maybe it's better if you want to get shelter that way, because you'll be sheltered on the way back. Not quite the etiquette I like to see. I like to see things that are predictable. With the wind the way it is, and as strong as the group is, it's not egregious, so to speak. Like, it's manageable, but it's not what I would have expected. Anyway, Kent takes up the mantle. And he's a ramming and a thumping. And I'm sitting back here, not quite guttered, but don't want to kiss the yellow line as I let those guys do a lot of work, because I'm not going to pull through on this old gravel bike. I'd gotten used to it, and, when I was stronger, but it might be more of an albatross than I should have brought this time. Kent's still up there, and everybody taking massive pulls. Kent looks over, and he too pulls off to the left. And you can see how there's disorganization here. Now, I know I'll probably get some feedback after I post this, like no big deal, whatever, whatever. But I think we could have done better here. I think it would have looked a lot neater. And after all the videos I've made and all the rambling I've done, to see this happen, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll give Kent some slack because he was kind of just following suit. And sometimes that's what you do if there's some reason for it. But anyway, there's the attack by Marcelo. And I pull some watts out and get my 30-second up to about 280 there and able to pull that back. Kent looking strong, easily able to reel me in after doing all that work on the front. Danny still sitting in. Haven't seen him at the pointy end of the stick yet, so we'll look for him to have a nice, strong attack here. I'm sitting in here, and I'm feeling the weight. Now my heart rate's still 176, and this is like really high. You know, before the season had ended, if my heart rate were this high, I would have just like let go. So I'm not certain what has actually changed with my physiology, but it is kind of interesting to have to recalibrate here. Looking strong. Marcelo, I don't think I've ever seen him any stronger. And now there's the proper rotation. There might have been a wiggle of the elbow there. And Daniel goes hard here. And since I want to get some good video, I figure, okay, it's almost over. I'll just go hard and hang on for as long as I can. 30-second power, 260, 70, 280, 290. Can we get the 300? 299. Oh, there we go, 300. So I broke the 300 mark for 30 seconds. Not horrible, which that was pretty hard. Everybody's still sitting on my wheel, and I know someone's going to go around me, but my 30-second power up to 324 for a second there. And there's Danny, always the opportunist, knows when to strike and put his nose into the wind only when it benefits himself. Not quite strong enough to go around Daniel, and at this point, I'm like, no mas. Game over. Don't need any more of that. I got to bring my heart rate down. At one point, I saw it get to 180, which is really high for me these days. So I feel okay. Didn't feel like my heart was jumping out on my chest. I just felt like, well, I felt like I did when it's normally like 10, 12 beats lower. So we shall see. In any case, a good time was mostly had by all. Well, I'm certain all the guys on road bikes had a really good time. I was like still whining about the warm-up. That at some point I'll get my road bike fixed and I will be out to play when the weather is nice. Until next time, party on everybody. And we shall see you next time for another edition of Sprint Zone Bitching by Steve. Peace.